My name is Max Lugavere. I am one half of Max and Jason of Current TV. Well, I think that the most obvious way in which Current is different from other networks is that the uh, the values that are sort of written into our constitution are inherently, you know, born of this Web 2.0 time, which we sort of have all come into, where we sort of accept like an interactive medium as sort of standard, whereas like CNN, has iReport, and MTV tried with MTV Flux, which is a website. Current TV is inherently a dual screen experience where users can participate in a multitude of ways in our programming, and that can range from creating a short form documentary in its entirety to submit to the network, or you can leave web comments and text comments, webcam responses on our website for inclusion into our show or on air in many other ways. We sort of launched with the goal of seeing Al Gore's mission of democratizing the most powerful medium that exists, and that we've sort of, we haven't gone a day without trying to figure out a new and more innovative way to do that. Our favorite segments to talk about on air are the viewer created segments, because well, part of the reason why we came on board was because we submitted a film that we produced in college, and so it's always refreshing for us to see the work of other young filmmakers. And not only that, but sometimes most of the time, you get a perspective that you just won't see on traditional in traditional news media. It's not always journalism, but the perspectives are just just unbelievable. I mean, we feel very honored to sit on the front line of this sort of the highest value user-generated content production pipeline that exists today. I mean, YouTube obviously is bigger and is more ubiquitous, but you have a lot of videos of like, people's cats jumping through hula hoops, or the next Chris Crocker out there. It's all entertaining, but the user-generated content that you're going to see on Current is just, the production value is just, impeccable most of the time. And so we love it. We get to see stories like, the underground party scene in Karachi, Pakistan, nose jobs in Iran. Apparently Iran is like the nose job capital of the world. Everything from that to underground drifting circles in Northern California. So it's really compelling, and it's great for us because, we get to see what's on the sort of, we get to keep our finger on the pulse of what's on the minds of people our age. These aren't short documentaries that come from focus groups or boardrooms and large media conglomerates. They come from people just like Jason and I. So it's great. Those are our favorite pieces. Those, and then the in-house journalism that Current produces on our Vanguard show. I think that one of the reasons why the internet is amazing is because you really can have both. And I don't see a problem per se with, enjoying the occasional consumption of celebrity websites and the like. I think ultimately you want to live a life of balance. I do think, though, that what a journalist is sort of, that perception is shifting and evolving at a rapid pace now with social broadcasting sites like Twitter. News and information is disseminated often from regular people that haven't gone to graduate school for journalism. And I think that we're starting to see that people are becoming more engaged with conscious media. We've seen Obama come into office, and we've definitely, Jason and I have been privy to an entire generation of outspoken, passionate people that really, see change in the world and have created ultimately a change in the world with his election. Yeah, so I think that, sites like Twitter and even Facebook, like people were definitely using media for the betterment of for society. Um, while they have their Firefox tab open to Perez Hilton, like that's another situation. But I wouldn't bash it because occasionally people want to know what's up with the latest celebutante. Well, I think the virtue of short form programming is that it's well suited to a generation where we're all sort of media oversaturated. We all have ADD to one degree or another. I think I just think it's easier to consume, a broader range of media when it's all sort of, short form. I mean, Twitter is super popular for having status messages that can only be 140 characters. Also, I think that in terms of production, because I'm also a filmmaker, I went to school for film, it's the immediacy of getting to create a short form documentary is great because, I mean, it requires so much less time to tell a story than the production that would go into a feature length documentary. I don't want to discredit feature length documentaries. I think that some stories, when a story is good, there is no time limit, as we've seen with, Inconvenient Truth and, you know, Sicko was amazing. I love Michael Moore's documentaries. I don't know if I agree with everything he says, but I think that he obviously has a knack for creating feature-length documentaries that are compelling the whole way through. But in terms of like daily consumption, I just think that there's an immediacy to the short form pod that didn't exist before bite-sized information was really as ubiquitous as it is today. Well, I know that it's a struggle that that we've faced before. For example, we have a segment on Current where one of our journalists infiltrated the sort of skinhead sect in Russia. There's a large population, I guess, of neo-Nazis in Russia, and that's a story that needs to be told, and nobody else has really told it the way that we did. But you always want to be careful to not perpetuate their hate. You don't want to give them a voice. You want to tell people what's going on without sort of giving them a soapbox to stand on, so to speak. So that is definitely a tricky situation. But that's always been a tricky situation, for any journalist. I think that just with the sort of ability with the range of stories that are now being told, and sort of with the information, overflow that is at all of our fingertips, I just think that people are going to their sensors are going to be more in tune to detect what is bullshit, what's not, what is sort of something worth reading up on, what's not. And I just think that the more information, the better. The more information we have available to us, the more fine-tuned our internal filtering devices will get. You know, um, uh, it's not a one-way broadcast anymore. It's sort of a communication with the powers that be, with media in general, and you know, with that will become a greater sort of median of where the truth lies. Well, when we first launched, one of the first stories that I covered with Jason was certainly crazy for me because I had graduated from college like 6 months ago. Prior to that point, was going to purchase a fake social security card with Jason in MacArthur Park. Now, obviously, Jason speaks Spanish, so he was more, able to go in and really, speak the language and get the job done. Whereas I stuck out like a sore thumb. I was wearing like board shorts at the time and sunglasses. Like in the context of the segment, I looked ridiculous, but at the same time, it was pretty interesting for the two of us to really, get to see that world. And so Jason, bought himself a fake social security card, which a lot of undocumented workers in Los Angeles need to do in order to, at least, on paper, be able to say that they can legally work for whatever it is, a car wash. So that was definitely crazy. I mean, Jason was actually in the room. I was walking around MacArthur getting accosted by sex workers and, drug dealers while he was, getting the ID. But it was crazy nonetheless. And then, we've covered the immigration situation in Miami. We've covered the homeless situation in LA. All interesting topics. I can't say that we've really risking our lives to tell a story is not something that we want to do. We love telling stories. We're both passionate storytellers. But there are journalists on current TV that are way more courageous in that sense. I think we have yet to see mobile technology really come into fruition in the way that I think it eventually will. I think Current will be heavily involved in that when it does. I also think that Current has a long way to go in terms of mass penetration, which, for better or worse, all of our marketing up until this point has been very grassroots. It's just people that stumble upon the channel or see something about us on the web, tune in, and then become hooked, and then they tell their friends. It's been very viral in that sense. But that said, it doesn't have the mainstream following that The Hills has, and I think that is sort of a crime, I think that in 5 years, what I'd like to see is just, Current being a massive hit, with people, all over the world tuning in to Current TV to see perspectives that you're not going to see anywhere else. We want to, we really want to enrich the dialogue between, young people and the concept of news, and it's all about information dissemination. And I think that the more eyes, the more power you have, and Current definitely, we want to have that power, we want to have that influence, and we want to use it for good.